Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And I'm here to answer your questions. Now, before I answer your questions, today is a very special day. Very, very special day, and not just because it's the launch of my new podcast, the Penguin Club podcast, that you can find at penguinclubpod.com. No. Today is a special day because it's somebody's birthday. It's a beloved figure. We all know this person. Well, technically, I don't think he's a person. And that's a little hint about whose birthday it is. And I'm actually wearing a very special shirt right now in honor of this day. Well, not only is it the equinox, meaning, first official day of fall in the northern hemisphere, first official day of spring in the southern hemisphere. So to the three people in Australia that listen, yeah, I know it's spring where you are now. Enjoy it. But no. It's Hobbit Day. Today is the birthday of Mr. Frodo Baggins and Mr. Bilbo Baggins. So right now I'm wearing a t-shirt that is for the Middle-earth annual Mordor fun run. You know why it's a fun run? Because one does not simply walk in Mordor. No. Fun run, baby. Yeah, so it's Hobbit Day. The birthday of Mr. Bilbo Baggins and Mr. Frodo Baggins. And before I get into the Ask Me Anything, where I, again, will answer all of your questions, I just want to share a brief quote from Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in the halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the lands of Mordor where the shadows lie, 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. But luckily, that 1 ring was destroyed. Spoiler, the books have been out for a long time. And I know the movies want to make you think differently, but Frodo didn't actually throw the ring into Mount Doom. No. He decided he wanted to put on the Ring of Power. And then Gollum, nay, Smeagol, wanted to get a hold of Precious and bit down on his hand, and then Sam wound up pushing him in. I think it was Sam that pushed him in. But nonetheless, Frodo Baggins only has 9 fingers now because one of them was bitten off because he wanted to taste the power. Now, with that out of the way, and again, I really just wanted to talk about Lord of the Rings for a little bit because it is Hobbit Day. Again, the birthday of Mr. Frodo and Mr. Bilbo Baggins. And, I kind of feel a connection to the Hobbits, seeing as I live in the Shire. Not the one in the Middle-earth, but, the Shire nonetheless. And yes, that was a proper, correct sentence. So, let me actually get into the questions. And there's only one, and there is some backstory to the question. So, the question is, what is the origin of the phrase, "It's turtles all the way down"? Now, if you, like me, have never heard this phrase prior to this day, then you might be kind of confused, as I was earlier in the day. Now, I was having a conversation with somebody about philosophy and, questioning stuff. And somehow I had referenced, The Onion did this wonderful spoof a while back. And, that's what they do. They do parody. They do satire, and they do it very well. But they had this article that they did. They may have turned it into a video. I'm not sure. But the headline was, Universe feels no connection to college student tripping on acid. Or mushrooms. I forget. Whatever it was. There's the cliche of, when you're on certain substances, you just, feel a connection to everything, man. And throughout the, conversation, the person I was talking with had mentioned, and I forget the guy's name, but he was mentioning a philosopher that just started questioning everything. He questioned his own existence of, am I really real? I know I can touch myself, but am I really touching myself? And not in that kind of way. I'm right now, I am holding a microphone with my left hand, and with my right hand, I am squeezing my forearm. But am I really doing either of those things? What does it mean to do? What does it mean to be? What does it mean to breathe? If I stop thinking about breathing, will I stop breathing? If I stop thinking about blinking my eyes, will I then stop blinking my eyes? And then the person I was talking to said, yeah, it's just, you start thinking about it, and then it's just turtles all the way down. And I paused, and I looked, and I said, what? I've never heard that before. And then he relayed a story to me that I will now relay to you. And there are various versions of this story. And one of them involves a well-known scientist, some say Bertrand Russell, who was giving a public lecture on astronomy. He described how the Earth orbits around the sun, and how the sun, in turn, orbits around the center of a vast collection of stars in our galaxy. At the end of the lecture, a little lady in the back of the room got up and said, "What you have just told us is rubbish! The world is a flat plate supported on the back of a giant turtle." Well, I'll tell you his response, and hers, in a moment. Stay tuned.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, "Sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic." Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
Hi, this is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
The world is a flat disc on the back of elephants standing on the back of a turtle. If you believe otherwise, then you are brainwashed by somebody because something. Relaying the story of where the term "it's turtles all the way down" came from. Again, well-known scientists. Some say Bertrand Russell, others say William James, and others probably say someone else, because the story is probably an apocryphal story, meaning it didn't actually happen. Now, there's no proof that it did. There's no proof that it did not. And this is where the whole thing of, if you start questioning everything, then, question, what does it mean to question something? What does it mean to answer a question? What does an answer mean? Can you question an answer? Because an answer is something you give in response to a question. Can you answer a question with a question? Can you ask a question without having a question mark at the end of the question? So, just think. And again, this is all connected to the question that I had for the Ask Me Anything. What's the history of the saying, it's turtles all the way down? Again, story is that a scientist had given a lecture about the Earth rotating around the sun and the sun rotating around other parts of the galaxy. And a little lady stood up and said, "What you have just told us is rubbish. The world is a flat plate supported on the back of a tortoise." The scientist gave a superior smile before replying, "And what does the tortoise stand on?" You're a very, very clever young man, just very clever, but it's turtles all the way down." It's turtles all the way down. So every turtle is standing on a larger turtle. Well, at some point, you run out of turtles, right? Well, no, because every turtle's on the back of another turtle. So the statement, "it's turtles all the way down," is used as an expression of infinite regression. And what exactly is infinite regression? Well, there's always one more. So think of infinity. Now, that's not a rhetorical statement. I actually want you to, just for a moment, think about infinity. And there's a wonderful video that I saw a while back called, I think it was the Infinity Hotel. I will find the link, put it in the show notes. But the guy that created this video does a very wonderful job of actually explaining infinity. I know it sounds weird, right? Because, scientists and mathematicians and whatnot, they have spent hundreds, if not thousands, or possibly tens of thousands of years trying to figure out infinity. Because no matter what number you can come up with, you can always add 1. But if you think of infinity as an uncountable amount, well, you can then just multiply that times another uncountable amount, and then you can multiply that towards another uncountable amount, and then you can multiply that towards itself to an uncountable amount of times. Now, yet you could drive yourself crazy trying to comprehend this, but again, I will find the link to that video for the Infinity Hotel and post in the show notes. But again, this expression, and when I first heard the expression used in the context, I was literally dumbstruck. I've heard the term dumbstruck before, but I never actually knew what that meant until this morning, because I had to stop walking so that I could just think for a moment and ponder. It's turtles all the way down. Now, there's some info here from Wikipedia. And yes, I know Wikipedia is not always necessarily the best source to go, but they have a little bit of info before giving the largely apocryphal stories. They say turtles all the way down is an expression of the infinite regress problem in cosmology posed by the unmoved mover paradox. The metaphor in the anecdote represents a popular notion of the model that the Earth is actually flat and supported on the back of a world turtle, which itself is propped up by a column of turtles. Questioning what the final turtle might be standing on, the anecdote humorously concludes, "It's turtles all the way down." The expression is an illustration of the concept of Anavasta, an Indian philosophy, and refers to the defect of infinite regress in any philosophical argument. Contrary to most extant Western references, it's not a popular Hindu belief, Rather, it's a widely accepted principle in Indian philosophy commonly used to reject arguments for a creator god or an unmoved mover. A comparable metaphor describing the circular cause and consequence for the same problem is the chicken and the egg. And of course, we all know the chicken and the egg problem of which came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, how did you have a chicken if you didn't have an egg? Could another animal have laid an egg before there was a chicken? And could something have wound up hatching from one of those eggs as a chicken? If so, that still doesn't answer the question of what came first, the chicken or the egg, because what laid the egg that became the chicken? So, did the egg really exist before the chicken? Even though I know that people have tried to answer this using evolution, and I've seen the charts and whatnot, but still, there's that underlying philosophical question of really what did come first. But at the same time, you have to ask the other philosophical question that is not asked very often: does it really matter? And I'm not asking this from the nihilistic standpoint of nothing matters, but really, is it going to affect what you do tomorrow morning if all of a sudden people can answer conclusively whether the chicken came before the egg or whether the egg came before the chicken? Because for me, the answer to that question isn't going to affect anything I do. Same goes with a lot of conspiracy theories. Yet they're interesting to think about, but in the end, it doesn't affect anything that I do on a personal level. Stay tuned. There's more.
Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, answering your questions because it's Friday, and that's what I do. Now, before I continue talking about the backs of turtles and turtles standing on backs of other turtles, and, it just goes all the way down, I want to make sure that I tell you about something that, you could stack a piece of silver on another piece of silver on another piece of silver, and then it's silver all the way down. Or maybe you want to get your hands on some gold, platinum, palladium. Why not all of them? And then you can just, stack all of them in various different patterns. Or you can, let's say you've got some silver or some gold that for some reason you want to get rid of. Well, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage can help you with either of those problems. They can help you buy, they can help you sell precious metals. Again, things like gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. And they've been helping people do this for over 40 years, since 1977. And they're looking to the future because they're Bitcoin preferred. And as a Bitcoin preferred business, they have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. So pick up your phone, call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760, or visit online at rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. So, discussing the phrase, turtles all the way down. And the reason I'm discussing the phrase is there was a question about the phrase, specifically what is the history. And I gave the history, but now we're just talking about the broader concept here that is sort of implied by the statement, but not directly in the statement. And I realize that this is something that high school English teachers do a lot, right? To where they'll wind up asking you, what was the symbology, and yes, I know the word is symbolism, but what was the symbology of the blue curtains in so-and-so's house in this book, and blah-da-da-da-da, blah, 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 and then, they sort of morph into Charlie Brown's teacher, wonk, 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 wonk. And they'll ask you all of these weird questions. And, well, you know what? Maybe the curtains are blue because that's what color the curtains are. Maybe there's not a deeper meaning of, the blue curtains represent the depression that the main character was going in. And the fact that they were full-length curtains symbolizes that the depression had fully set in. If they were only, half curtains, then they wouldn't be fully depressed. Well, maybe, just maybe, the author of the book wasn't coming up with any kind of deeper meaning about the curtains are blue. Maybe they just wanted the curtains to be blue. Maybe they needed them to be full length because, hiding behind the full length curtain was fill in the blank. Well, that's not, hiding behind the depression. See, it wasn't actually a serial killer. It was themselves. But there are other statements like turtles all the way down where you can, take that, well, it's implied that it's a statement about infinite regression. And let me jump over and talk about infinite regression. Infinite regress is a series of propositions that arise if the truth of proposition P1, and again, getting this from Wikipedia, proposition P1 requires the support of proposition P2. And now I'm just going to say 1, 2, etc. instead of giving letters. The truth of proposition 2 requires the support of proposition 3. The truth of proposition, etc., goes on ad infinitum. And I mentioned conspiracies before in the last segment, and a lot of conspiracies kind of go off of this, of, well, we know this is true, so therefore this. And we know this is true, so therefore this. Well, we have to believe that this is true because this other thing, and then it builds upon itself. And a lot of conspiracies, there's little nuggets of truth, as they say, in most things. But finding the nugget and then deconstructing the things that aren't that nugget of truth, and it's really, really strange. And again, on the one hand, it's an interesting thought experiment, but at the same time, you can actually drive yourself crazy trying to question everything that happens. Oh, well, maybe this thing only happened because the CIA, MK Ultra Illuminati wanted this to happen because, see, it's all about this other thing. And there was a really good article from The Onion. And yes, I know I mentioned them earlier. But The Onion had an article about conspiracy theorist life that spiraled out of control after September 11th and started to believe that the entire thing was just a major conspiracy to wind up having his wife leave him and all of his friends disassociate. Because once you start questioning stuff deep enough, it is kind of like that iceberg to where, at the top is, hey, here are some valid questions, but then you go way, way deep and everything's a conspiracy and George Bush ruined my life. I don't actually believe that, by the way. Stay tuned. There's more.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com. Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Davi Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Davi Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And, you know, I think I went way off the turtle here. And yes, I said way off the turtle instead of way off the tracks to loop it back in, you know, kind of like a loop of turtles. Loop it back into the question that was asked for the Ask Me Anything. What's the origin of the phrase, it's turtles all the way down? And again, it's just a really interesting sort of statement here. There's a little bit more background on the statement. Wikipedia has the info here. They say the explicit reference to infinite regression cannot be shown to predate the 19th century, but in the 17th and 18th century, there are references to the story in the form of a world elephant standing on a world turtle, claimed without good evidence to come from Hindu mythology. Henry David Thoreau in 1852 wrote, "Men are making speeches all over the country, but each expresses only the thought or the want of thought of the multitude. No man stands on truth. They are merely banded together as usual, one learning on another and all together on nothing, as the Hindus made the world rest on an elephant and the elephant on a tortoise, and had nothing to put under the tortoise." Well, obviously, Mr. Thoreau needed to meet the little old lady that spoke to either William James or Bertrand Russell or somebody else, assuming that the little old lady ever actually existed, to say it's turtles all the way down. So the elephant stands on the back of a turtle, and then the turtle stands on the back of another turtle. Since the 1980s or so, the story has been so well known that frequent references are made in pop culture and pop literature. Many variants now have a scientist replying to a little old lady. The scientist variously takes the identity of, and here's a long list, Arthur Stanley Eddington, Thomas Huxley, Linus Pauling, Carl Sagan, in addition to those previously named. And there are several references that they give of other people mentioning the turtles, and apparently Antonin Scalia, yes, that Antonin Scalia, wound up actually referencing the giant turtle in a court case, Rapanos v. United States. Don't forget, every Friday I answer your questions. No matter how strange, you can send those over ama.fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.